But let's get started right now with another decision at quarterback. Yesterday we had the Raiders. Today we have the Washington Commanders. I'm getting used to saying Commanders by now. The rookie, Jayden Daniels, gets the call. He is going to start the season opener for Washington. Not a huge surprise when you're taking this high in the NFL draft, but it is now official as we're going to see a number of rookie quarterbacks, I would imagine, over the first couple of weeks of the season, and Daniels right there at the top. He's had a pretty good preseason. Dan Quinn made the announcement official yesterday, but before we get to that, they've had week one starting quarterbacks in various talent degrees, is putting it mildly. Daniels in 24, Sam Howell opened up in 23, Carson Wentz in 22, Fitzpatrick in 21. My gosh, they have really gone through. I didn't realize how many different quarterbacks they've had. It's the 8th straight year a new starting quarterback opens up for Washington. But Dan Quinn basically made the announcement yesterday and said the reporters can now stop bugging him as he names a quarterback.
But Jayden Daniels is our starting quarterback. Drop the mic, Chick.
I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, of course you didn't. Yeah. You're pressuring me so much over the last few weeks, I felt it was time to promptly tell you I'd know, you'd know, he'd know. I think the practice before we left to go down to Miami was the best one I had seen from him on the Tuesday prior to us leaving that Wednesday. The command of it, the accuracy, the details of it, that was one of the best practices I'd seen him have, was the best practice I'd seen him have. And so I think that was more in line with, who he is, what he does, the checks, the calls, the communication, the delivery of the ball. He was just really on point. So it was just cool to see all of that, come to life.
All right, so Daniels gets the call. Now, guess who gets the bag? It's a general manager for the Alabama Crimson Tide. That's right. Like, teams now have general managers in college football to make sure that they get the proper players and NIL deals. Courtney Morgan has a new precedent-setting contract with Alabama. And right now it looks like the fee is $825,000 under a 3-year contract. General manager behind Washington's runner-up finish. And this is a new day and age in college football, folks. The players are getting paid. Coaches are even going to get paid more, and even you need a GM to get this done. Well, speaking of getting paid, how much money are you willing to pay for Sunday NFL ticket this season? Once upon a time, I remember this thing was $200. It was $200. Then they went to max up and all kinds of crazy stuff like $300-$400. I thought $300-$400 was insane. How about this? There are reports right now circulating that when it is launched in the App Store, and again, it's on YouTube TV, that NFL Sunday ticket will be available for $700 this season. Now, I guess over the course of 12, 15 weeks, 16, 17 weeks. I mean, are you going to sit there and watch it every week? I guess so, if you have time. But $700 for Sunday NFL ticket. I guess they're getting paid this. I don't know. Also, by the way, the NFL made an announcement yesterday, or at least there has been some rumors, that the starting position for the kickoffs are going to remain the same. So the touchback rule is not going to go back to the 35-yard line. They're happy with the way the exhibition has gone, averaging approximately a start of the 28.3-yard line, up 4.4 from last season, and that's what they were looking for. So don't look for that to change when the season begins. I know some people have been clamoring for that. Justin Herbert back at practice. Their Chargers are hoping they'll have him for week one. I would not anticipate seeing him this week on the NFL field. And, of course, with the third preseason coming this week, Buffalo Bills are in search of a quarterback. Mitchell Trubisky and Marquez Valdes-Scantling and Quentin Morris are all going to be out multiple weeks. So Buffalo is going to need at very least another backup quarterback going into the season. And by the way, they have a quick turnaround after week one. They play on Thursday Night Football in week two. Preseason All-Americans are out. Number 1, Georgia. Number 9, Michigan. Each have 3 players picked for the first team. No surprise, Carson Beck is on the list. Also, Tate Ratledge. He's on Georgia too. Defensive back Malachi Starks, also a first-team All-American going into the season. Number 5, Alabama has 2 transfers on the first team in their center and kicker. And Notre Dame and LSU also have a couple of first-team selections. Miller Moss is ready to take the starting quarterback job for the University of Southern California. Lincoln Riley names him the guy. Caleb Williams to the NFL. Moss played well in their bowl game last year. They have seen enough. And it looks like he's going to be, at least for the time being, their starter going into the season. Also, Duke quarterback Malik Murphy has won the Blue Devils starting job. He's going to start the opener against Elon as Manny Diaz is their new head coach. They made that announcement yesterday. Murphy transferred from Texas, which, by the way, is where Manny Diaz was in a previous career. Ole Miss's defensive lineman Xavier Harris was arrested Sunday on domestic violence and obstructing arrest charges. He lives in Mississippi. He was booked on Sunday night. Lane Kiffin, the head coach, said that on Monday the program is aware of Harris's arrest, but there's going to be no comment further on him. Over to Major League Baseball, a month and a half left of the season, and we got the news yesterday that Austin Riley, the great third baseman and all-star for the Braves, is going to be out for the rest of the regular season. 6 to 8 week injury with his wrist, which was broken. They're saying that he could potentially be back for the postseason, but the Braves are not waiting around. They signed Gio Urshela, who was waived by the Tigers last week, cleared waivers. Tigers pay the contract, but Urshela goes to the Braves. Meanwhile, the New York Mets with a monumental home run last night from Francisco Alvarez right off the bat. He knew it was gone. Didn't even watch it land as they beat the Orioles by a final score of 4-3. Mets still very much in the thick of it for the postseason, says their manager, Carlos Mendoza.
Yeah, 100%. It's been hard for him. 22 years old, struggling at the big league level. And I've been saying it, he cares so much and he wants to win. And at times when we're struggling offensively as a team, like he feels like he's responsible. And he's got a lot on his plate, with, taking care of pitching staff and things like that. But the homer, the impact. I like the at-bats as of late, but for him to finally hit one out of the ballpark, it's been a while. And, in that situation to give us a win, happy for him.
Mets are hanging in there. Maybe Alvarez will get hot. Meanwhile, the Astros know hot. They are 10 out of their last 11. They know all about it. They've been one of the best teams in baseball in the second half of the season. 5-4 the final. Yannick Diaz's walk-off home run off Kenley Jansen gives them the win. They're very much in control of their destiny with the Mariners falling apart. My gosh, they lose again last night. The Dodgers blanked them 3-0. Gavin Stone threw 7 shutout innings, struck out 10. Max Muncy homered, and so did Gavin Lux. Seattle is under 500 since the All-Star break. Meanwhile, tonight in the WNBA, we have 3 games to talk about. We'll preview them with Gilbert McGregor. Among them, the Wings and Liberty, Sparks and Sun, and Storm and Mystics. Meanwhile, Arina Sabalenka and Yannick Sinner have claimed the Masters 1000 title in Cincinnati. That is the warm-up for the U.S. Open. But even bigger news this morning that Sinner has tested positive for a banned anabolic steroid in March and was stripped of prize money and points earned at a tournament in Indian Wells. The ITA, Integrity Agency for Tennis, made the case and announced it this morning. He won the Cincinnati Open on Monday. He'll be among the favorites at the U.S. Open, and as of now, he'll be able to continue to play as a result of contamination from an over-the-counter spray containing cholesterol. That's the latest on Sinner. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Welcome back to Newswire here on SportsGrid. Today we have Matthew Waters from Legal Sports Report. We're going to touch on a couple of different sports betting operators. In fact, we're going to go all around. We're going to hit on DraftKings, FanDuel, BetMGM here on the show today. Matt, great to have you back here on Newswire. Thanks for coming on.
Always happy to be here. Hey, I can only notice Mike Gundy sounds a whole lot different about the player than he did back when his, what was it, 2007? I'm a man, I'm 40 rant. Things have changed a lot since then.
And so has college football in a big way this year, too. Although his hair looks the same. Anyway, all right, Matt. So let's touch on DraftKings here, and let's kind of review the last couple of weeks here. They just had their stock update here. And, initially, for people who are unfamiliar, DraftKings made an announcement that they were going to add a surcharge to sports betting winnings. They walked that back. And I'm sure investors, especially large investors or DraftKings, are watching these numbers just go up and down and up and down, sort of a roller coaster ride for them, I would imagine.
Craig, it was really interesting the way that DraftKings did this. DraftKings announced their earnings, and they announced it the night before they had the call. And hidden in the investor letter that they had was an explanation as to why they were implementing the surcharge in states that had higher than a 20% tax rate. And it kind of went crazy on social media because people were just saying, why would anyone bet with DraftKings in those states then? All things being equal, why would you go to an operator who is going to take more money from your winnings than someone else? It's even more clear cut than just price shopping and line shopping at that point, right? You see it on your bet slip that this is what's going to be deducted from your winnings. So the stock didn't do too well after that. And you know what? The stock market was shaky on those days. DraftKings also announced that they expect higher losses than expected in some areas. So it was muddled, but obviously this had a lot to do with it because naturally everybody said, okay, what's FanDuel going to do? Well, FanDuel did not match it. And shortly after that, it was only 12 days after DraftKings said they were doing it, and 11 days after DraftKings CEO Jason Robins said it would take quite a lot for DraftKings to decide not to do this. DraftKings announced shortly after FanDuel said no that they would be scrapping the idea as well. Can't really give you a good reason as to why they did it this way, Craig, and why they tried. But you know what? As far as investors are concerned, they're just happy that it's over. The stock dipped below $29 for a little bit. It was a big dip. It was down 15% on Monday morning after the Friday conference call, but they've made all that back and more since just last week when FanDuel said no. And then DraftKings said no too. Look, I thought DraftKings would be dragged for longer than this than they have been. I didn't actually see the surcharge ever coming into effect because, again, they were getting left out on an island left and right by operators saying, no, we're not going to do this. But really, DraftKings is doing okay now. They have not taken a black eye from this, and I would kind of just putting it in the rearview mirror, So investors are happy. The stock over those 12 days, more than half those days, it traded at higher than the average volume. So it was really on the minds of a lot of people throughout that whole time. But now we know that DraftKings, after no one else joined them, will not be adding this surcharge. And I think it's pretty clear that everybody is happier this way.
Yeah, no, I would agree. It's just the whole strange appearance, I think, for DraftKings is what everyone is really talking about. Why even put this out if you're going to walk it back? Was it just to see the reaction from people? That was part of it. All right, so football season is basically here. Week 0 is here. Sports bettors, Matt, maybe they don't jump all in on this week, but by the time Labor Day comes and then you have the NFL, they're back in. And I think we're going to start hearing stories from FanDuel, DraftKings, MGM, a lot of promos, different things happening with the launch of football season. So I'm not surprised to see that BetMGM is one of those companies doing so.
Yeah, BetMGM has been working on their technology for a long time, Craig, and they finally, I believe it's tomorrow, they finally will have their single wallet, single account live across all of their BetMGM online states. Nevada is the last one to go live, and that's huge for BetMGM and its parent companies, MGM Resorts and Entain. Because when you think about Vegas, first of all, it doesn't have the DraftKings and the FanDuels. So you're already looking at, when you go to Vegas, a lot of these bettors, a majority of these bettors do not have access to their online sportsbook when they go out there. Then you're also hit with the fact that Las Vegas and Nevada, you still have to sign up in person. That's not the easiest thing to do on a football Sunday in Vegas, Craig. It's hard enough to get a seat at a sports book, let alone walk up to a window and open an account. So now BetMGM has it where if you live in Colorado, you live in Pennsylvania, you live in New Jersey, when you travel to Las Vegas, you don't have to do any of that now. Your account's already funded, your account's already live, and you can be betting with BetMGM. On the flip side, if you're someone that goes to Vegas a lot and you use BetMGM a lot, now that account is now available in all the other states, including whatever home state you may be returning to. And so BetMGM thinks that this is going to be a way for them to hang on to customers for longer and bring more customers, more bettors into their ecosystem if those bettors care about MGM rewards, right? You know, you talk about the BetMGM rewards program, and you talk about Caesars and all these other companies that have their loyalty programs. And when we get to the point of all other things being equal between these sports books, that will come into play. People are always looking to add value where they can. And so BetMGM thinks this is huge. MGM CEO Bill Hornbuckle said, I think it finally unlocks our database, enables people to take their wallets and go home to places like Colorado, still have funds that they can share. It was something that happened early in the sports betting launches, Craig. A lot of states had individual apps for their sports books so they could get it up faster. It takes more time, obviously, to integrate all these things and have it working at scale. And now that pretty much is an issue of the past.
Yeah, no, and look, I think definitely this individual wallet will definitely be something that other companies try and emulate and follow as well. Let's get to FanDuel now. I saw this story that you have posted at Legal Sports Report. I would encourage people to read this, and certainly you can make your own judgment from it, but it involves a lawsuit. I see Nigel Eccles' name mentioned in here for some of the things that he posted on social media. Actually, I met Nigel many years ago when FanDuel launched their daily fantasy product. In fact, I had him on shows and things like that. What exactly happened yesterday, and what is this lawsuit all about?
So here's what we have going on, Craig. When Paddy Power Betfair merged with FanDuel to become this Flutter company, this larger company, FanDuel shareholders got 40% of the company. The problem is that allegedly, the valuation of FanDuel was, you could say, maybe messed with a little bit. So the valuation didn't hit the point where all shareholders got paid out. Only preferred shareholders would get paid out in this, which winds up giving them a bigger stake. It was finally ruled a couple months ago that this lawsuit can go forward with co-founder Nigel Eccles and others who are still looking to be paid from that transaction. So, yeah, I would also encourage anyone to go read this, Craig. Have fun reading the 216-page file that details exactly how all this went down. But, yeah, really interesting story there, Craig.
Yeah, I mean, 200 pages in a lawsuit, that seems low these days for a lawsuit. But anyway, LegalSportsReport.com is the website. You can read all about it. Matthew Waters has his column up there. Matt, great to see you again. We'll talk again soon.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.